up, Flick fans, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome to one of the hardest videos I've ever had to put myself through, because today we are kind of ranking the main characters of Stranger Things and placing them on their own individual tiers. No, I did not include every character in Stranger Things, and there may be a few missing where you're like, Austin, where is Mrs. Wheeler? Where is Mr. Clark, right? We love those two characters. Why aren't you talking about them? Well, one, I'm using a pre-made template, and it made things pretty easy for me. And two, I wanted to keep this video shorter than like 3 hours, because there are a lot of characters in Stranger Things. And if you guys do want to follow up, maybe I can create another template talking about the characters that were not on this list. And for the most part, this list just kind of covers Season 3, and we just got Season 3, so hey, that's convenient. I need you guys in the comments section. Who is your favorite Stranger Things character? My list is not going to be the same as your list. I'm not ranking according to, like, superpowers, because then 11 would be in her own tier. I'm not ranking according to who is the best actor in the business. No, these are just my favorite characters in the show and why they are my favorites. Alright, let's get into this list. And before we start with our boy Alexi, I'm going to be talking about spoilers for Season 3. So finish it, come back to this video, but according to Netflix, a lot of people have watched it and finished it. So hopefully quite a few of you can stick around. Okay, let's get into this tier list and talk about a character that I did not anticipate much from, and maybe it's the help from Twitter creating this guy as a meme basically right now, or maybe it's just the fact that his character was so heartwarming and full of joy, and he just wanted to adapt to his situation, and you just feel for the guy, and that's what makes the character of Alexi so great, and that's what made this actor so good in this role. You understand that he wants to do good. You understand that he's in a situation that maybe he does not want to be in. And this is going to be such a hard list to make, because as you can see on the tier list, I don't really have a character that I think is bad, or even a character that I think is, yeah, I probably wouldn't want to see them again. No, they're all, for the most part, either okay or really, really good. And Alexi is one that did not have much screen time, and you have to factor that in. And because of that, I can't say he's an awesome character, but for the role that he served in this prior season and the way that he impacted me and his relationship with the character that we'll get into here in just a second, I loved him. Short-lived, but it's not about the quantity, it's all about the quality, and his character was high quality for me. So, hey, I'm putting him on the great tier. First character in, already starting a bit of controversy. Who knows, maybe you guys might love him as well. Next up, we get into Murray, the character of Murray, who was in Season 2, then he came back in Season 3, and I have to admit, his character in Season 2 was a bit too far over the top for me. It felt a bit cartoonish, he was a bit overboard, and then in Season 3, he comes back in the very first scene, you're like, oh no, we're back to this character again. Not that he frustrated me, but he just wasn't as good as I think the writers intended on him being. And then you get into his character in Season 3 and start hearing the banter between he and the rest of the group. And I have to say, his improvement from Season 2 to Season 3 is something I'm not hearing many people talk about. They're not talking about his character in general, and he had some of the best lines. He is hilarious. He is not a cartoon version of what his character should be. He was perfect in Season 3. He did exactly what I think the filmmakers intended on his character doing, and his relationship with the character we just talked about was great. He brought a lot of heart to this season. And the fact that he improved so much, I'm going to place him on the good tier. And who knows, if he keeps improving, he could be on the great tier after Season 4, guys. I thoroughly enjoyed him in this season. A nice surprise, and another reason why Season 3 worked so well for me. Then we get to the character of Will. And when we're looking at these characters, I am looking at their impact in every single season from 1 to 3. And I will admit, Will was underserved in Season 3. Didn't have a lot to do. The guy just wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons. His friends, they're all in relationships, and he's just in the background going, guys, what are we doing here? But we look at Season 2, and he carried that season on his back. And I'm not just saying from a character standpoint. I am still upset with the fact that he did not get nominated for anything for Season 2. He was phenomenal. His emotional range in Season 1 was good, but in Season 2 carried the entire show. He was remarkable, delegated to a bit more of a background character in Season 3, but still he is the Will that we know and love, an integral part to this group, and because of that, I'm putting Will on the great tier. I think he is a great character. If he would have had more of a presence in this season, maybe place him on the awesome tier, but we have to see where season 4 goes. I hope they utilize him a bit more, but the kid is just a phenomenal actor. I can't wait to see what he does outside of Stranger Things. Next up, we're talking Steve, and I have to admit, Steve is one of my favorite characters, so I'm going to spoil this at the beginning of my reason why I love him so much. Yeah, he's an awesome character, and here's what's really cool about him, right? We've seen it before, the character of Jaime in Game of Thrones, so on and so forth, but Steve is a character in Season 1 that really no one liked. You weren't supposed to like him. That's the way he was written, so he did a great job as an actor, but we didn't like him because he was a bit douchey, and he was full of himself, and he liked the way that he walked and talked, right? But then in Season 2, you start to see this progression, and he turns into something else entirely, and then in Season 3, he just knocks it out of the park. I love Steve. I think his dynamic with Dustin is great. I think his relationships have evolved and turned himself into someone that we never thought he could be at the beginning of Season 1. And I love his character. I truly love him. One of my favorite characters, possibly my favorite, we'll talk about that here in a bit, in Stranger Things. And that's why, for me, he belongs on the awesome tier. Next up, we're talking Bob. Bob the superhero. And once again, it's not about the time that we spent with the character, because we only got one season of him, because unfortunately, rest in peace, Bob. You're the man. But you have Sean Astin. What more do I need to say? He was so lovable, and we knew it was coming. It was so sad. I wanted to see him make it through, but about 5 episodes in, I'm like, this guy's too nice. He is too good of a character to make it, and he's not a main player from Season 1, so if anyone's going to die and not make it into Season 3, it's going to be him, and sure enough, that part came, but it still got me emotional because he was so good as the character. I loved his presence. I think he is truly a great character because everything we have seen from him has been, or was, rest in peace once again, consistent from a character standpoint. And that's why I really liked him. Next up is Mad Max, and we got the episode of Mad Max at the beginning of Season 2, establishing her as a main player because the episode was named after her, 1, and 2, it got me a little worried. I'm like, okay, we're bringing in a new child into the fold to become part of the team. How is this going to play out? And at the end of the day, guys, Max ended up being, for me, a great character. I loved her in Season 2. Didn't know how to feel about her at first because she was kind of a cliche, okay, she's the girl coming into the group, she's kind of BA, she knows what's up, but then you slowly start to feel for her and her relationship with Billy, which paid off in Season 3. I thought was really good. Max is a great character. Some may put her on the good tier because maybe she doesn't live up to the group, to those standards. The reason I'm placing her on the great is because she took Eleven's character in Season 3 and kind of transformed her into a bit of a different purpose. I thought she served a great purpose as a character in Season 3, along with what we got in Season 2, and because of that, I found consistency. I think Max is awesome. Next up, we have her brother, Billy, and once again, a solid, a good character. He was a jerk, he was a douche, he's kind of who Steve was in Season 1, but this guy went a bit more overboard, so I kind of expected there to not be a turn to the good side. Well, there technically was close to that at the end of Season 3, but I knew he wouldn't get there in Season 2, and sure enough, he was the jerk, but he played that character so well in Season 2. I mean, he was so good, and then in Season 3, he comes back, he's kind of delegated to the shell that the Mind Flayer incorporates itself into, so he's walking around with this, basically this demon inside of him. Yeah, he didn't do as much in Season 3, but I still liked his storyline, where it went, and where he ended up going out on top in a hero-esque kind of way. I think Billy is a really good character. Close to great. I can't quite get him there because he doesn't hit the same notes as these other characters, and maybe it's where he's just such a douchey character, but once again, props to the actor for getting there. Wow, so far just looking at this list, I feel like I'm going to be called a Stranger Things shield, but come on guys, we're dealing with the main characters here, and how can I possibly put one on the bad tier? Well, we come to Barb, and Barb is a character that I look at in Season 1, and so many people were coming out in support of Barb saying, what happened to her character? Where was the proper tribute? Why wasn't she talked enough about at the end of Season 1? Why did Nancy just cut off her investigation? Now, other things were going on, this and that. But for me, Yes, she was a very encouraging character towards Nancy. Yes, she tried her absolute best to get her back on track, but I just didn't get enough from Barb. I barely got anything from Barb. She died so quickly, and Austin, I thought you just said it's not about the quantity, it's the quality. That's the big issue for me, is I didn't love her character. I thought she was fine. It did become this big thing to stick up for Barb, and why didn't she get the proper funeral, and this and that. And yes, it makes sense as a human being to want to see a proper tribute for her character, but as a character, Barb didn't work as well as the other characters for me. I'm still not going to say she's bad because of the encouragement that she was giving Nancy the entire time, and the fact that she was a good character with a good heart, right? But she didn't have the impact to be on the good, the great, or the awesome tier. She was okay. I'm not going to say she was meh, because the character of Barb is such a well-known character in Stranger Things, but she is probably the one that I look at and I go, you know what? I don't remember her as well as I do these others. Next up is a character, and this is Erica. Now, Erica had a very tiny role in Season 2, one that I did not think they would elaborate on or expand in Season 3, but they absolutely did. They gave her a pretty solid arc, and they made her a part of this team, and she had some of the funnier lines in Season 3, and at the end of the day, I can place her on the good tier because I thought she was a good character. Not every joke she made, not every line she had landed for me in Season 3. And I think at the end she did become a tad bit too much, even though she was still really funny, so that's why I can't get her to the great tier. But who knows, maybe we see them flesh her out a bit more in Season 4, and I would like to see that because the little sister of Lucas is a nice incorporation into this show. Very fresh feeling as well. Then we come to Mike, and Mike is one of those characters that had a great story arc in Season 1, right? In Season 2, still a great story arc. In Season 3, I would say a good story arc. I loved his relationship with Eleven, and they did focus on him more than, say, they did Will, but he didn't give as much to me in Season 3 as he did in 1 and 2. He really was the heart of Season 1 because he was the one that would do anything to get to Will. He was the one that would not stop while the other friends were in the background like, okay, I don't know if we're trying too hard here, but it looks to me, I mean, there's a body. Will is clearly dead. Mike was the one that said, no, Will is not dead. He is alive, and I know we are going to find him. And that just, I get chills talking about it because that's what friendship is all about. Two best friends who clearly love each other. Mike showcased that in Season 1, and because of that, I'm putting Mike on the great tier. Very consistent, great characters in Stranger Things. My goodness, guys, what a show we're talking about. Next up, we are talking the brand new character of Robin. Oh my goodness, what a massive surprise Robin was. Did not expect or anticipate or think she would get anywhere near the good or great character tier at the beginning because I'm like, they didn't even really make a big deal. Like, Max got a Mad Max episode named after her, right? Robin just kind of comes in and slowly, subtly kills it. She is a great character. Her dynamic with Steve, as I was talking about before, is fantastic. And she says everything that's on her mind. I respect that. I love that. Robin is a great character, and she is also, the actress is Ethan Hawke's daughter, Uma Thurman's daughter as well. You can see the acting talent just coursing through her veins. She was really good, thoroughly enjoyed her. Next up, Joyce Byers. She is a mainstay of this show. She was the beating heart of Season 1. A bit similar of a character in Season 2 because she was freaking out about the exact same thing that she did in Season 1, but she had a good reason to, right? She is so good, and it all comes down to the casting of Winona Ryder. Wow, what a character actor. You just buy her emotion. She had some of the best crying scenes. She showcases some of the best emotional range of any character on this show. It is a disservice to say she is anything other than great in this show because for a long time she was the beating heart. Next up, Eleven. Now, Eleven is a character that is just, I mean, she really was the focus of Season 1. The entire time she's been the mystery. Turned into a BA character, turned into a lovable character, turned into a character that's just trying to discover herself. So dynamic, so dynamic. The fact that she didn't even say a word, barely, in Season 1 is insane. It's insane that we love this character so much. Millie Bobby Brown, I love saying that name. She is just awesome in this series, and I was a bit concerned after season 1. I'm like, she didn't have much to say, so is she really that good of an actress? I mean, sure, she can express emotionally, and then we get season 2 and season 3, and it's like, yeah, she's pretty great. She's so great that even though I may not personally like her as much as Steve, I'm still placing her on the awesome tier. Wow. 11 is just one of those characters that I can't wait to see continue to grow, and I can't wait to see what happens next. Then we come to Dustin. I feel a bit biased on this one, even though I have nothing to be biased about, but I just love the kid since day one. He didn't even have to say very much for me to fall in love with this actor, this character, the way they wrote him. He's just kind of not the lame one of the group, but he's the one that I feel like gets picked on more than any of the other ones, and he grows this relationship with Steve, and he really is the character out of that core group that has branched out the most. And I don't even mean acting-wise. The kid's a great actor, but I mean he has this friendship with Steve now. He went on kind of his own adventure in season 3 when the other ones were all together. Now, some people took issue with that. They like to see the core 4, right? The group together. I like to see that as well, but sometimes you like to see take a break, maybe take a season, do something different. They did something different with Dustin's character, and I thoroughly think he is a great character. I am so close to putting him on the awesome tier. Here's the problem I have with doing that is I think Will gave the best performance out of any of the characters in season 2 specifically. So me putting Dustin above Will, it kind of doesn't seem fair, but I guess as a character, Dustin has had a consistent storyline for all 3 seasons. He's been used, I think, the way he needed to be used. It's hard to put him on the same tier as Steve as well because I love Steve so much. He's what, you know what? Screw it. Putting Dustin on the awesome tier. There's something I love about this kid. Maybe everyone doesn't agree with me, and maybe he's not even the favorite of the core 4, but I just think he's an awesome character. Then we have Lucas, and Lucas is a bit tough for me because I was originally going to put him on the good tier because in season 3 especially, more than any of the core 4, he was designated to the background. He didn't have much to do or contribute. But I go back and I think about season 1 and season 2 and how much of an impact he made because he was always kind of the voice of reason, even though maybe not every time he was correct, but he always had this logical sensibility about him, and every now and then he makes a joke or he screams like a little girl, as they say, and it comes off as one of the funniest things about that specific episode. So I am going to put him on the great tier because you have to put the four that you know and love, on the great tier because they've all been great. They're the reason, these characters, they're the reason why we love this show so much because we started with them. Hopefully, we will end with them, and I just truly believe they are the ones that continue to make this series go. May not necessarily be my favorite ones, but they are the ones. Next up is Nancy. And Austin, you're going to put another character from Stranger Things on the great tier? Yeah, I think I am, man. Listen, okay, Nancy is one of those that has grown so much. She started season 1 with Steve, then she got the relationship with Jonathan, and I love the route that took in season 2. And then in season 3, both her and Jonathan, they're coming into their own. They're turning into adults. She realizes how difficult this industry, well, really any industry you're working in is tough, and sometimes the coworkers, they're not the best. She discovers that in season 3, and I thought her character arc specifically and their relationship, her and Jonathan, is great, and she really is, man. She has taken up the mantle of one of the most BA characters in Stranger Things. We forget in seasons 1 and 2, she's picking up the weapons, she's attacking, she's going crazy. She is a great character, and for me, she belongs on the great tier. Wow, this is a really top-loaded list. Let's add to that. Let's talk about Jonathan. I think Jonathan is a really solid character. Now, in season 3, while I love the relationship and the dynamic, he doesn't have as much to do as Nancy. He doesn't have as much to do in season 2 as he did in season 1. In season 1, his emotion resonates with me to this day. That episode where they find Will and just his face going and hugging his mother. Some of the best acting in that show. And I like this actor. There's something about him that makes me look at him and think, this guy could make it, maybe not be A-list, but make it pretty big time one of these days. Be a great character actor. I don't think he quite hits the mark of great because he wasn't used as well as I think he has been used prior in Season 3. He didn't have a ton to do. So overall, I think his character is good, even though he has had some thoroughly great moments. I know it looks like, look at the characters on the good. Clearly, he doesn't like them. No, they're still good characters. They're characters that I think if they have even more fleshing out, this could be the most top-loaded list you've ever seen on YouTube. And speaking of which, let's talk about Hopper. And I did technically cheat and place his name last because I wanted to talk about him last. Listen, Hopper is one of those characters that is just so lovable. In Season 1, he had a specific arc to him that I thought was perfect for his character. He started out thinking he was all that, even though he was a bit messed up from past experiences. And then you start to dive into his daughter and his relationship with his daughter and what happened to his daughter. And then he finds 11. He slowly starts to love her as a daughter, and then he adopts 11. He becomes a father figure. He grows as a character. He's so lovable every single line, especially in Season 3, which I think focused on him even more so than they did in Seasons 1 and 2. The guy has just had a significantly incredible character arc, and yes, he is technically dead. We're going to use quotes, technically, right now, which was a remarkable death scene. But if we do see him in the future, and if you watch my spoiler review of Stranger Things, you know my thoughts on that. I would love to see where they take this character and more of his relationship with 11. Like I said, as of right now, he is technically dead, but I am putting him on the awesome tier. He and Steve. Let's move him over here next to Steve, and then 11 doesn't. Yeah, that looks right. Those are probably my 4 favorite characters from Stranger Things, but if you guys can't tell, I love this show. And yes, great visuals, great cinematography, awesome filmmaking, great retro vibes. It harkens back to things we love about the past, but why do we love Stranger Things as much as we actually do? If you take a look at this tier list, and I'm not saying this has to be your tier list because everyone's list is going to be different, but clearly, I think the reason why this show works so well is because of the great, the awesome, the good characters in Stranger Things. Just the main cast for the most part. If you guys want to see more of my thoughts on more of these characters, you can go check out my spoiler review, my regular review of Season 3. I'm doing some stuff on Patreon, talking about Stranger Things even more than I already have. And who knows, maybe there is a new tier list or another one coming down the line talking about Stranger Things. I want your thoughts and your feelings, the way that you would assess these characters. You can go into as much detail as you like. This is your space and place to talk about the characters in Season 3 and talk about some characters that weren't on this list as well. Like I said, there are a few on there that I missed, and I hate the fact that they weren't on this list. I don't want to be here all day. I don't want to talk for 3.5 hours. Maybe I'll talk about this more on my live stream this weekend. Regardless, this was a great conversation to have with you guys. I'm so glad I got to hash all of these things out. Once again, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. It does help out this channel. It really helps out this video. I appreciate all of the love. Love doing what I do, and I truly cherish you guys, your relationships with me, and everything about you. You are the best, and I'll see you very soon.